Hello, this is wmpyr. The other day I saw on Netflix a documentary on sleep paralysis, and after watching that, I felt kind of compelled to talk about my own experiences. I don't think I've ever really done a video before on this subject where I plan to go into quite a bit of detail, but it's because A, it was a pretty terrifying experience. B, it felt very, very personal, but here I just want to share it with you guys. But I just want to say, don't take it too seriously. Just take it as entertainment, and kind of like we're at a campfire telling each other horror stories, something like that, scary horror stories during the summer, so just have fun with it. The other thing is, I was talking to the guys from the Collectors Talk tonight, and that was also one of the reasons why they actually kind of encouraged me to make this video. So I'm going to go ahead and do it. Alright, so pretty much in high school, I was here in the U.S., and I was having a miserable time. High school is a very awkward age, and the high school that I went to was, there were a lot of cliques and stuff, and it felt pretty rough in that kind of area. So I wasn't having a good time, so to speak, and because of it, I feel like when the stress is very, very high, that's when I have sleep paralysis. That's when I experience it. And I was experiencing a lot of it at the time. And before that, I can't really recall myself experiencing sleep paralysis, at least not to the extent of what I had during those times in high school. So, and by high school, probably junior high and high school. And to give you an idea of what kind of things happen is basically, so I'm in my room, and I'm on my bed, and I'm asleep. And I wake up and I know that I'm still asleep, right? I'm not sure if I knew this the first time, but definitely after a while I knew that I was asleep, and but I was awake in my dreams, so to speak, right? And the weird part is, because normally I kind of have, I guess, a creative imagination, so my dreams are usually very fantastical, right? But here in this case, I wake up in my dream and I see my room exactly the way it is, as if I really woke up. So it's almost like my brain thinks I'm awake and I'm seeing everything just the way it is, In my room, the way to explain it was, I was on the second floor and I was right next to these very, very steep staircase. And at the bottom of the staircase was pretty much the entrance to the home. So it was like right there, that's outside, And my room itself was dark, and I slept with the lights off completely, but the light from outside, the lamppost, would be coming in. So even though it was black, it wasn't completely pitch black in my room. You could still see shadows and stuff. So I would wake up, and I would see my room exactly the way it is, and I'd be looking up at the ceiling or whatever, and I'd see the fan, I'd see, my bookcase and all that stuff, right? And then from there, I basically start hearing footsteps coming up the staircase. Slowly. It's slowly but surely. And because, I know it very well, I can tell when a person's like halfway up, or, they're coming very close, or, I can tell. And so this thing is, whatever it is walking closer and closer, to my door. And they're going up the stairs, and I can hear the footsteps. And there's a sense of panic, because I feel like there's something very evil coming up those staircase. It's coming closer and closer and closer. And I want to move, I want to do something, and I can't. That's why it's called sleep paralysis, right? So you can't move at all. So I'm trying really, really hard to move. I'm like, dude, you got to get ready. This thing is coming in. It's coming. It's going to come inside your room. You got to be ready. You got to do something. You got to fight it, whatever. And I can't move. So I'm freaking out, and I'm trying to move. I'm like, and I'm just flexing with everything I got. And the thing's coming closer and closer. So there's a huge sense of panic. Something evil's coming, and I want to get ready, but I can't, and I'm fighting it, and I'm sweating and I'm freaking out, and then at that time I wake up, and when you wake up, sometimes it's like you're screaming. I'm screaming, but I don't hear myself screaming. Apparently I did scream. Some of my family members told me that I did, but I don't hear it. I never hear myself screaming. It's maybe in the dream, but not out loud. It feels like a very distant sound echo or something. But I'm like like that, and it's like like it's almost like the scream won't come out, and I wake up, so I'm upright like this, and I'm breathing really, really hard, and I'm drenched in sweat, and I'm tired because I was flexing. So it's like you're working out really hard, like you're flexing with all your might, all your muscles, and you're trying to move and you can't. So that's a workout right there, So I wake up just drenched in sweat. I'm super exhausted because I guess it's like being in a seizure for like 10-20 minutes. Just imagine flexing for 10-20 minutes. It's going to wear you out. So I'm super tired and stuff, right? So that's pretty much the norm. It got worse. It got worse and worse. And when I experienced that, I was like, what the hell is that? And it's like, that's really weird, whatever. But then it gets worse, and then the way that I can describe it is, how did it get worse is like, it got to the point where the thing came into the room. The thing came into the room, and it basically, I don't even want to say it knocked on my door. It banged on the door. It was really hard, and I don't know if it was 3 knocks, because in some satanic stuff they say that that's the devil or whatever, but I don't remember if it was 1, 2, or 3. There's some really violent knocking or banging on the door, and then it would come in. It's like you could just come through the door anyway. And it was this entity, and it was like all like black shadow of 2 red glowing eyes. It's the typical shadow man type stuff. I didn't see him wearing a hat or anything, but it was just all dark. And so he'd come in, and I'd wake up at that point. But then again, like I said, it got worse and worse. It got worse to the point where not only did he come in, he got on top of me. He got on top of me, and I felt his weight on my chest. And it was like I was having an asthma attack where I couldn't breathe. It was like, and this thing's on top of me. And then I felt him draining my life force. He was draining all my energy out of me. He was sucking the life out of me, So it was like a psychic vampire or something like that. And yeah, after that, and this is something that I feel like the documentary didn't necessarily cover too well, is that after you experience something like this, and it feels so real, okay, so real, you're terrified, right? And if you're really, really terrified, then you don't want to sleep. It turns into a Nightmare on Elm Street type situation where the teenagers are doing everything they can not to sleep. So pretty much I don't want to go to bed now. So I'm awake and I'm reading comics, manga. I didn't have a TV in my room, so I started playing Game Boy, whatever I can. I put on all the lights. I'm not even in bed anymore. I'm on my sofa. And I'm doing the best that I can not to sleep. And sometimes I doze off because I'm so tired, but I'm on the sofa, so I don't get full sleep. That's the main thing. If I don't get full sleep, this thing, it's not going to attack me type thing. So, I try to stay awake the whole time, right, from that point. And that thing happens usually, 2 o'clock in the morning, after midnight, something like that. And from there, okay, so let me change the subject, not the subject, but there were times where we had a cat in our home, and there were times where I thought the cat was in my room, and later I found out that my sister is like, no, the cat was with me all night, he slept with me, and I'm like, what? So I know this thing pretended to be a cat sometimes, and that like freaked me out too, and sometimes from the fan, I would look at the fan and I'm so tired. And the fan is like rotating. It's almost like it hypnotized me, and then I fall asleep. And then from the shadow of the fan is where he would come out sometimes. So he wouldn't even come up the stairs. He would just come from there, which was a lot faster. He wouldn't just be like walking on the staircase and then knocking on my door and doing that whole elaborate thing. He would just come right from the fan. And that was later on where he was a lot more powerful, So, like I said, the thing that I feel like the documentary didn't cover is that if it feels so real and if it feels so terrifying, which it did for me, I'm not going to sleep. So therefore, and this would happen continuously. This didn't happen like once a month or something. I was stressed out the whole time, and I was watching nothing but horror movies. Maybe that had, the influence or whatever. And I was in a very negative mood in my life. And I think people at school sensed that. And, teachers made comments and stuff and, said things about me. They said that if there was someone that was going to bomb the school, it would be wmpyr, Girls were probably freaked out by me, I wrote some dark poems, drawing dark stuff, just going through like the goth and emo phase before goth and emo even existed, because there's my age right there. But so I was just in a very bad place, mentally, even physically, because with asthma and stuff, I was very weak. And so mentally, physically, and spiritually, I was just in a terrible place at that time. And, okay, so at school, I would be so tired that I would have to sleep there. And I would like doze off in class, and people thought I was just very eccentric. They thought I was just a weirdo. He's an Asian guy, but it's not like his grades were good. He can't do any sports. So it was like he couldn't do anything well, and no one knew that I did martial arts and stuff like that. And so anyway, I would doze off and stuff and try to catch sleep when I could, wherever I could. That's how it was. And during the whole day, I wasn't paying attention in class because I was worried for my life at night. I was like, this thing's going to come over and suck my life force again, That's what I'm worried about. So I'm not... Yes, I liked girls. I was obsessed with girls or whatever. Or, I was into video games or comic books, of course. But there was something happening in my life that was worse than any bully. It was worse than any of that stuff. It was just some freaking demon or something, a vampire demon at night coming and attacking me. And I didn't know what to do. And one time, I actually told my mom. And my mom, she was like, basically, I was like, Mom, seriously, let me tell you. And it's not like I really had that good of a relationship with either of my parents. I was very close to my grandma, but no one else really. So I was pretty much alone. And so I told her, and she was pretty much like, you should go to a church. And I did, and it didn't help. And when I was in Japan, I had a mentor who was very, very intelligent. He was like educated in like a ton of different religious forms, and so he knew a lot about religion and history and science, and he's a genius. And he was my mentor, and he taught me a lot of stuff, helped me out with school. And so anyway, when these things were happening, I was like, I didn't care if it was, Buddha, Vishnu, whatever, I was praying to everything and anything, going, please help me, Jesus, Yahweh, whatever, and nothing seemed to work. And I did research stuff. I was like, what can I do to fight this stuff? Do I need to buy crystals? What do I need to do? And like I said, things were so bad that you're not getting any sleep. And you're dead tired because a human being can't go without sleep. So I'm sleeping at crazy places during the day and stuff. And I'm tired like all the time because I'm not getting proper form of sleep. And one of the worst things that can happen is you have one of these sleep paralysis attacks, and this thing's like on me, attacking me, and I wake up and I'm breathing harder. I'm like, oh, thank God, and I'm putting on the lights and everything, and then I'm like, and I'm drenched in sweat, and then I feel myself being pulled back because I'm so tired. So I'm like falling. I'm like, oh no, and then I fall right back to sleep, and I don't know if it's going to continue right where we left off, or if it's going to start over the whole process again, and it's going to attack me again, or I don't know what, And sometimes it did, so it was like super scary. And like I said, I try to keep myself awake, and that's when I also started getting into martial arts, like around junior high school. That's when I really started martial arts and got into it big time. And I told myself, like, okay, I need to make myself physically, spiritually, and mentally stronger so that I can combat this thing. And every night, instead of sleeping, I would exercise. I would work out. I would do the splits. I would, do push-ups, sit-ups. I would do my forms. I, work on the Heaven 6. I would do all that kind of stuff, at 12 midnight on. All right. So before that, I would try to sleep as much as I could. And so basically, I never saw my family. Almost, like, you could ask them during that time. It's like I hardly had any contact with anybody, and I just kept to myself, not with a whole lot of people, and just kept all this stuff quiet to myself. And I'd go to like Walden Books, and I would also go to the library, and I'd research this stuff, sleep paralysis, get the scientific point of view, get the supernatural point of view, get the folklore point of view, try to read up on it, and anything that could help. That's what I wanted, is help. That's all, And so anyway, I started working out at night. So 12 o'clock, midnight, I would go downstairs after everyone in my home was asleep. I'd go there and I'd start working out, and I'd deliberately turn off all the lights, and I'd go up to the biggest mirror, and I would say, because I would feel like that's where, like the demon could like reside in that or whatever. And I was like, okay, you want this? You want me? I'm going to train, and at my peak, when I get to my highest level, or when I get much stronger, then we're going to have a showdown. So until then, I'm going to be working out, and we'll see who survives until because I was like, I'm sure you want a stronger body. You don't want a weak soul. If you get to choose your pick, you want a stronger soul, in your possession, I'm sure. So I was like, that's what I'm doing. And then we're going to have a showdown, I'm going to go face to face with you. So I talk to the mirror, and I work out in front of the mirror. I put the lights off completely so to be extra freaky. If there was a Candyman or whatever, that's who I'm talking to, And so that's what I did every night. And it was really freaky for me, because also around the same time, there was that movie that came out, the Bruce Lee story, Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. And in it, something similar where, like, the Jason Scott Lee, Bruce Lee character, he sees a demon, and basically the demon it's like wants his soul or something, and also looks at Brandon. And then shortly after making the movie The Crow, Brandon Lee passed away too. This was all around that time for me. So I was like, whoa, it's like, this is really weird. Am I in the same boat here? And it's like, why does it want me? I'm nothing special. My skills aren't good. I'm not famous. I don't make an impact on the world. But I was like, okay, whatever. And so I just trained myself, worked out, and basically, I felt like I got to the point where I became strong enough, and then finally it was like, all right, this is the time. Tonight is the night. So before I get there, and before I had my showdown, first let me say that, when all this was happening, and before I figured out the proper time where I could sleep during the day and stuff, where I could figure out a sleep cycle, where I don't have to sleep at night to avoid this thing, I was so tired all the time. You got to the point where you couldn't tell, you were delirious, so you couldn't tell what was a dream and what wasn't a dream. And this was probably at its absolute worst, because I would be awake in class one moment, and in the next moment I'm dozing off, and then I would see like a coin, which I put the coin on the textbook so that I don't lose the page. So I put it there, and then I'm looking at the coin, and I'm like, will the coin move? And I'm trying to psychically move it, and then it moves, and I'm like, the coin just moves, and I'm like, whoa, did I just do that? And then I wake up, and I'm like, did I just wake up, or did I really do that? Or, I didn't know what was going on. And I had a dream about, like, a werewolf, using psychic powers, and just crazy stuff like that. So I started getting to the point where I couldn't tell what was real and what wasn't, and like I said, that was when it was at its absolute worst. But anyway, once I started taking martial arts, and once I started training and figuring out to sleep during the day, and then at night I would train martial arts, then this really helped me a lot. And like I said, I became much stronger, much more balanced. And also in school, I think I started getting bullied a lot less. It was more like I was blending in much better, so I wasn't getting noticed, and they were leaving. Not all, there were some hopeless jerks, but a lot of the people were leaving me alone more, and I was just staying in the shadows, being blending in, and just because I just wanted peace. I just wanted peace in my life, just I was having a hard time as it was with everything, girls, everything. So, asthma and grades, and my parents, all that, classmates and stuff. But so anyway, when I got to my physical peak, I was doing 300 push-ups, 300 sit-ups. I mean, there's plenty of people that do more than that, but that's how much I was doing every day. And plus, that doesn't include all the other stuff, the splits, the kicking exercises, punching exercises, the screamo work, all the other stuff that I was doing by myself at night. I was feeling pretty strong, and I think by that time I was also people started to know that, oh, this guy does martial arts and stuff, and I was starting to get slowly a little bit of respect, amongst certain people and stuff, and reputation spread and all this stuff, Mr. Shins of Steel, and all that kind of stuff, but so anyway, at my peak, I basically went up to the mirror at night, had all the lights off, and was like, this is you want me, then this is the time, go for it, possess me if you can, let's battle it out, and I was ready, and basically just sat there, like in a meditation position, saying, hey man, you want me, I'm right here. Nothing happened, and then so basically I don't know if it was at my room or if it was there. I took, I told you I did the research with, supernatural science and also, folklore, with the hag attacks and stuff. So, I was open to all these different perspectives, okay? And I wasn't necessarily think that, I called it a demon or whatever, the psychic vampire, whatever, but, it's not necessarily that I believed that. It was more so that I viewed it as the way that I'm going to tackle this problem, because I just wanted this problem to go away. And I mean, can you imagine how frightening this is? You have this, it was almost like having a medical condition, but there's no cure. There's no doctor you could go to. It's like, what do you do about it? And people just don't want to talk about it. You feel very alone. You feel like, am I crazy? You feel very, very alone. And it's kind of like in the movies where you see a horror film and then they don't know who to go to because no one would believe them, Yeah, there's this werewolf attacking us, and they go to the cops and the cops are like, yeah, it's kind of like that, except this is real. So I was like, okay, well, what do I do? And the perspective that I chose happened to be supernatural, okay? So I'm not saying that I believe in it, but all I'm saying is this is what worked for me. And that's what's important. It worked for me because it went away. I don't have it anymore. So that's all I'm happy about. And the perspective that I took, like I said, was supernatural. So I viewed it as, okay, so there's something in my mind that's very, very negative energy. So in the martial arts, we imagine the chi, the ki, and positive energy coming in, negative energy being flushed out. And I was like, clearly there's some serious, hardcore negative energy inside me. Deep down inside me, and so what I did was I bundled it together in my mind and did what I call a psychic lobotomy, where I cut it off, did surgery on my brain, in my mind in a way, and cut off all the negative stuff, cut it off, and then put it in the room. I put it in the fan. That's where I wanted to be, that's where it came from, so I put it back into the fan and said, you stay there, get out of me and you stay there, And once I did that, like I said, I was never bothered by this thing again. That's not true. Sorry, that's not true. I was more like in harmony with it. It was there, and we communicate it now. And now I could visualize, and it's just an energy being, so I could give it any form I wanted. So, I imagined it was like this really cute vampire girl, and I drew her and everything, and I put her up and made a poster, and I was like, that's you right there. And I named it and everything, and gave it, like I said, a name and an actual character and everything. And so I would speak to it, and we got along. That was great. That I was like, because I couldn't just get rid of it, so I had to. That's right. I had to get along with it first, you know. And once I did that, I remember my mom saw the poster, and she took it down immediately. She was like, "It's really creepy. I don't know what it is about it." And I didn't tell her what it was. I was like, "Mom, do you like my drawing?" And she was like, "This is really bothering me." So she had to take it. I don't know if she threw it away. I can't even find it anymore. And I got along with it to the point where I was like, "Hey, if anyone comes into my room, I want you to mess with them." You know, like Egyptian pyramid, you know, with the Pharaoh's curse type thing. I was like, do your worst. You know, you mess with them, make them feel uncomfortable. You know, give them psychic nightmares. Drain energy from them. Do whatever you want. You know. So I give you permission. Please protect my room. This is our room. You know, I talk to it like that. And, you know, I mean, even years later, I remember my mom saying that, you know, they brought over guests, and the guests would stay in my room because I was already off to college, and they would complain to my mom saying there's something really wrong about this room, that they got a very bad vibe, and they couldn't sleep, and they felt very uncomfortable, and, you know, stuff like that. My sister says that way. She doesn't want to be in my room at all. You know, she says there's some kind of negative something in there, and I'm like, you're right, there is. You know, but right, you know, but that was like when I was in high school, early years of college. It's been so long since then that it's, you know, she has gone away. That's my psychic vampire is gone now. You know, the energy just, I don't know, it just dissipated and got back to the earth or something like that. You know. But yeah, it was a very crazy experience, and that's how I overcame it. And you know, like I said, take it as a grain of salt. And I hope you enjoyed my story. It's like almost 30 minutes. So if you've listened this long, thank you so much. I hope you found it somewhat amusing. And you know, if not, you probably think I'm totally crazy and stuff. But yeah, it's something that it was a chapter in my life, and it's part of where the name wmpyr comes from, and it means a lot to me because it also gave me another purpose for martial arts and stuff. So anyway, that's it for now. Thank you for listening, and take care, folks.